I'm going to preface this by saying at a certain level, it's kind of mysterious. I don't really understand still sometimes how the burble of syllables that kind of well up in you happen and why you follow that and why one gets finished and one, I mean, it's I don't understand it at a certain level. For me, I do, as much as we make jokes about I'm a talker and I talk a lot and stuff like that, I actually do spend a lot of time in silence. I do. And that internal silence is really important for, I think, for how you start to listen to the music and words and how those things. So I remember when I interviewed Dennis Lee for my master's thesis, because I was trying to understand why it was that I was gravitating towards that. I thought I would study one of the best. And I started asking him, and he described it as an itch. He described it as kind of like an itch inside that just kind of won't go away until you've scratched it, until you've explored it. So that's a good thing, but it is felt in your body. So the closest I can come to it, and I know that you would know this, anybody who has children would know this, when you watch a young child walking down the street or playing in a sandbox or something, and all of a sudden they're going, that kind of thing. Well, that's what's happening. At some level, I'm going, okay, like maybe in another life I wanted to be a jazz singer or something, or Leonard Cohen or somebody, but I can't. Words are my medium. So what I'm doing is there is an internal cadence, rhythm, something happening, and then I start to listen. And then I suppose maybe it's like how a musician scores music, only I use words and it comes out that way. So sometimes it's actually that. You know, it's like there's a rhythm in my head and I sit down and I start to explore it, like da da da, like da 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 da. Okay, Maple's house was purple, so was Mabel's hair. Okay, so that was in me. Okay, and I started to explore, and how it came about was I loved the sound of purple, murple, rurple. So I'm working with those syllables. So it all goes in together in this weird word song business stuff that I do, and it's like. And it is very much, and I, you know, some people say, oh, I don't like the word inspiration because that means that we don't work hard at what we do. Well, I'm the opposite. I'm thinking I so believe in inspiration, and then you still have to work really hard after you've been inspired. So you can be inspired by that ripple of syllables that you feel in your body, or that itch, like Dennis Lee said, or it can be very deliberate. So very intentional, I would say, is a better word than deliberate. So I'm in the kitchen, and the dog comes in, and I drop a bagel on the floor. So there's a beagle and a bagel. And I go, whoa, bagel, bagel. And I always say, whoa, you know, every neuron in my body starts going crazy. And I kind of put it in the back of my brain pan. And I'm like, bagel, 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 bagel. Okay, I can work with that. And it might be 3 months later, and then I see the beluga whale. And I'm like, oh, the beluga belongs in the beagle, bagel poem, right? And then 7 years later, I knew a beagle who loved bagels. In fact, he loved to beg for bagels. In fact, he wagged his tail for bagels and haggled for those bagels whenever bugles blew. One day, the beagle met a beluga who played the boogie woogie bugle. The beagle giggled, hi, beluga, then played a jig with his kazoo. Then the beagle and the beluga, eating bagels, blowing bugles, met an eagle who was eager to eat some buttered bagels too. So the beagle and the eagle and the bugle playing beluga sailed together, saw the 7 million wonders of the world. It was a boondoggling, mind-boggling, horns-boggling time. They played the boogie woogie, eager, eagle, beagle, beluga, blues. I mean, what is that? I don't know what that is. I can't explain what that is. That's just really weird. A really weird person. But that is, you know, once you've given yourself permission and say, this is what I'm going to do, and then you start hearing it everywhere. You know, you'll see the beagle and the bagel, and you're just really open to that. But that's a very different process than saying I'm going to write a novel and I'm going to sit down and develop plot and character and have dialogue and all the rest of it. But I truthfully think that my ear was attuned very, very young, because I did have a father who went, oh, wild west wind, thou breath of autumn's being, and he recited like amazing poetry to me, because he had a storehouse in his head, because he'd grown up at that time when you had to memorize great poetry, and he knew it and he loved it. And then my mother did all those wonderful tongue-twisty songs from the 40s. You know, Maresy Dotes and Dozy Dotes and Little Lambsy Ivy and Chicory Chick Chala Chala Chickala Roam Me in the Bananaca Wallaka Wallaka Can't You See Chicory Chick is Me. So that wordplay was a part of my early childhood, and I guess, you know, that's as best I can describe it, except I know that the older I get, the more it happens, and the more excited I still get when I can do it on Twitter. I can have fun, like sun shimmers on rivers swimmers. I did that the other day, and I went, I should be writing, not doing it on Twitter. But you know what? It's still fun. it's maybe there's someone on the other end going, ah, ha, ha, or whatever. Exactly, Sue. So, there is a forum there that fulfills that little itch in me, to do that.